Hello students. As we kick off the new semester, I wanted to take a couple minutes and go over the basics of APA with you to serve as a refresher. While I am no expert in APA, at the end of this short presentation, I will show you that you don't have to be. What you need to be able to do is recognize some of the basic rules to APA formatting and know what sources to rely upon to help you if you get stuck. Now, generally speaking, I align with this author, Susan Hudd, who asked the question, do we write to teach or teach to write? And I find that I am more on the right to teach side of the house. But there are some things that we need to do here with APA to present our arguments and our work in a scholarly manner. So APA is the format that we use. It is a skill set that, especially in the graduate programs here, you just somewhere along the lines, you're going to have to become very familiar with it and know how to do it. So what I have in front of you today is a document that I cut and pasted right from Purdue's Online Writing Lab. And I had the source provided here. And with this document, this web link, and our already fantastic online writing center and writing lab at Southern New Hampshire, you really have a lot of resources in front of you. And so as a professor, I get frustrated when students continually make these same errors because these are correctable, and it's really correctable. And so my advice is, please print this sheet off and use it as a guide. Keep it beside you. I reference this stuff all the time, and I have multiple graduate degrees, and I constantly reference it. You know, this is something I just don't memorize. But the basic rules you will, and the general way you cite will become second nature to you. So as we scroll down through here, some of the APA basics, it's simple. It's a formula. It's pretty much always author, publication year, and then the page or paragraph where the information is found. That's the basic formula right there. That's the basic formula. That's nothing really more than that. So when you look down at in-text citation here, there's ways to do this. And for this purpose, do not get hung up too much on this here. But what I want to draw your attention to is the short quotes. Alright, so according to Jones, parentheses, publication year, XYZ, no punctuation. Notice there's no punctuation there. Page number, punctuation. Okay, you can scroll down through there and you can see that's the common formula for a direct quote. It doesn't get any more different than that. That's the standard right there. Okay. When in doubt, cite like this. Even if you're paraphrasing, cite like this, and you're okay. But as you move on, be cognizant of the punctuation. You get into longer quotes. These longer quotes are these big block quotes, 40 or more words. I would generally say please try to avoid those if you can. As a professor, I want to hear your voice. I want to know what you have to say about the material. Quite frankly, if I wanted big long block quotes from a source, I would just go read it. So what I want to know is what you know, and what you think, and what you feel. So, but if you feel that you need to present a long block quote, just kind of recognize here you have the punctuation ends. So it's just the block quote. It's set aside, punctuation in the page. So similar format, just a hair different. I don't know why they do it this way, but they do, and so it's just a rule to keep in mind. And sometimes we get in the habit of overquoting. We don't want to do that. So, but keep that in there. Summary or paraphrasing. Real easy. This is where you take the material from the author and put it in your own words, but you still want to give them credit because it's still enough of their idea that you need to cite where this came from. So very simple. All you do is just, according to Jones, 1998, and then you drop the page number. Now, when in doubt, leave the page number in there. But pretty much, if you're not using a direct quote, then you can go ahead and drop that page number. But you don't have to. You can leave it in there, and certainly would not be penalized for it. As we'll talk a little bit later here about online sources, you would put a paragraph number in here if there was no page number. So if we're talking like a web source, and you're scrolling through, and say it's a web page, and so you'd have to put the paragraph number in there. But so that's the basic formula. Style points. I think it looks a little cleaner without that on there, but that's okay. You do what you need to do. When in doubt, put the page number in there. When you have an unknown author, right here, you just go ahead and you can add ND, or you can, if it's part of an organization, you can put that in there. So, like right here, according to the American Association 2000 XYZ, same deal, And then when you cite, like let's take Mothers Against Drunk Driving, for example, Madden. Once you put that in there, you can then just use the abbreviation or some type of abbreviation. The American Red Cross, you can just put the Red Cross. Something of that nature. Just all you're doing is showing the reader that you acknowledge where this information is coming from. So moving on, indirect sources, a little different. I don't bother students too much with this at this point in their academic careers, but this would be if an author of an article or book is citing somebody else. So for example, here let's just say Johnson was arguing a point that Smith wrote, and then he or she quotes Smith directly in their text. Then this is where this would be applicable. But I wouldn't get too hung up on that at this point in your careers, but just be aware of that. So whenever you can cite the direct source, you do that. Electronic sources. This is big now. This is really big. I get students get stumbled up on this one quite a bit. If possible, cite an electronic document the same way you would any other document by using the author, date, style. So what this means is that you actually have to go into the website and build out the reference page. So this one author I cite a lot. His name is Michael Kelly. He is an American historian, teacher. He works for historyonline.com or something like that. So I got to go in there and I actually have to build that out just like I would any other source. And if there's, if it's like one of these current things where it's always running, always being updated, you can put ND, you can put the current date in there. But somehow you're going to have to build that reference page out. What we do not want to see, are hyperlinks put in there, or www.xyz.com. We don't want to see that as an in-text citation. That's not how you do that. Okay, so you really have to go in and just kind of flush it out. You have the material in front of you if you're going to cite and quote it anyhow, so it's there. You just need to put a little bit of extra effort in, and just pull that data out of there. Okay, just pull it out. You're going to find a publication, which is usually some type of source. You're going to find some type of date that time that it was published. You're going to find some type of author. So you just have to build that, and that takes a little bit of practice. But with more and more sources and being online, especially like government documents and things like that, if you start citing and referencing those things, you need to become familiar with how to cite electronic sources. Sources without page numbers. This is what I'm talking about, like the paragraphs. You got to go in and count that. So if it's like say this right here, I'm scrolling on a web page, I'm going to have to count down and say, okay, I'm going to take this quote that's in paragraph 2. So it would be according to Spencer, 2016, paragraph 2. It's that simple. It's that simple. It's nothing super crazy. And as I stated, we never use web pages as our in-text citation. We never use hyperlinks. So to summarize real quick, it's not an overly complicated process. It's just something where you have to get familiar with it. And as you write and you make efforts and strides towards perfecting this, if you start with this formula, author, publication, and then page or paragraph number, you got 98% of it under wraps. Steer clear of the big block text. You don't even have to worry about that. Okay? And then the other thing that really jams students up is the punctuation. So if you have this printed off in front of you and it serves as a study guide, you really should have no trouble putting this together. As far as building the reference page, if you need some help with that, both SNU and Purdue have sources. But the easiest thing to do is just find an article, a scholarly article that have references in the back, and just kind of look at the format of how that works, and make yourself a little cheat sheet. But for the most part, if you just use this basic formula right here, understand where the punctuation goes, how the quotes go, and this kind of formula. See right here, this formula, you have 98% of it under wraps. The rest can be tweaked. So, in this department, when I mean social sciences department, we use APA a lot, so please become familiar with it. Create yourself a little cheat sheet, reference that cheat sheet, understand where you can go and find additional information on APA formatting, and don't be afraid to use your writing center. You know, I use them all the time, and I think it's a great source, and I think that if you put forth just a little bit of effort, I've seen students go from, and this is a direct quote from a student, his name was Steve, and he told me, he said, "Spence, I can't even spell APA." And by the end of the semester, he was citing better than I can. And we're talking 10 weeks, 180-degree turnaround, and it's something now that he's using, and it's really helping. So it's a really big academic tool that you really need to have, and so I can't stress it enough. But if you have any questions or comments, you could please at any time feel free to email me, wspencer@snhu.edu. All right, take care.